Hi, it's Rob Bryanton, and welcome back to the Imagining the 10th Dimension video blog. Today's entry is dated September 5th, 2008. It's entitled Jake Kotze and Mystical Numbers. And if you go to YouTube and search for the word synchromysticism, you'll find what Jake's all about. That's synchromysticism. Synchromysticism. And the video that's over my shoulder is actually from Jake Kotze. This one's called 9/11 Pyramid Mega Ritual, but he's got a lot of content out there, so check that out. And today's entry, if you want to read along with it, at 10thdimension.com/blog, does have a number of other connections hyperlinked within it that you might also find interesting to go to. So the blog entry goes like this. In Moving Dimensions and Synchromysticism, I wrote about the creative explorations of Jake Kotze, who writes about the connections between popular culture and our reality. Jake published his own blog recently about my project. You can click in my blog if you're reading along here to read about his thoughts on how my way of visualizing the 10 dimensions might be tied into the mythos he's been mapping. One of the connections he makes note of is the importance of the number 10 in the system of Jewish mysticism known as Kabbalah and its tree of life. So the graphic we're looking at over my shoulder now is from the Wikipedia article on the subject, but if you search in Google for tree of life, you'll find many similar diagrams. Jake's proposal is that artists and writers, as they create new storylines and visual imagery, might be plugging into hidden patterns that reveal more about the underlying connections behind our reality than they might realize. For instance, he's mapped out the many images of the destruction of the World Trade Center towers that began appearing in popular entertainment in the years prior to 9/11. Coincidence? Or an example of resonances that connect across space and time? You really have to spend some time reading through Jake's blogs to appreciate that this is much more than an idle diversion for him. He's created a huge body of work that boggles the mind. Since my project is not just about dimensions, but a way of understanding the relationship between consciousness and the patterns within the information that becomes our reality, there are some obvious connections between our two projects. The idea of combining synchronicity with mysticism is really not that big a stretch. Anyone who's experienced a moment of surprising synchronicity has already had a taste of a mystical experience. A bit of synchronicity happened to me not long ago after my book was published, when people began asking about the strong visual similarity between the Kabbalistic tree of life and the helix I had created as an icon for my project. Now, I had to admit that I knew nothing about Kabbalah, but the connection did seem fascinating. Another surprise happened earlier this year when I heard from a fan about the notion of triads within Kabbalah. Triads is also the word I chose to refer to the groups of 3 dimensions that are created by the line, branch, fold metaphor I use in my visualization of the dimensions. In my book, Chapter 4 is about what I call the binary viewpoint. This is the tendency for us to try to categorize things into this is what it is and this is what it isn't. By the end of that chapter, I discuss an idea that comes from both quantum physics and ancient mysticism. There's always a third state to consider along with that binary yes, no, or on-off, both states simultaneously, which in a kind of Zen flip is essentially the same as no choice being made. Thinking about the third dimension, then, is really thinking about the first 3 dimensions simultaneously as a triad. The 4th through 6th and 7th through 9th also have a certain self-contained quality within my way of visualizing, so we end up with 3 triads, and in my project those 3 triads then become 1 in the 10th dimension. An online document called An Introduction to the Kabbalah for Beginners is where someone first pointed me to show me that system's use of the term triads. And here's what it says, and I'm going to apologize now for I'm sure I'm going to completely mess up these pronunciations, but this is the quote from that text. The tree of life contains 3 triads. The first triad has been called the intellectual world of Olam Mev Shekel. The second is called the moral world, or Olam Morgash. And the third is called the material world, or Olam Hav Mevet Bao. Starting from the top of my helix logo, it's easy to superimpose these words onto my triads. The intellectual triad is the 7th through 9th dimensions. Readers familiar with my project will recognize how many times I've said this is where information equals reality, and this is where the big picture memes that prefer one kind of reality over another reside. The second triad, the fourth through sixth, can very easily be referred to as the moral triad, since this is where the different parallel universes resulting from choice, chance, and the actions of others, another phrase I've used so often with this project, would be found. And the material triad, obviously, would be dimensions 1 through 3, where we find the actual physical atoms and molecules that make up our universe. What can I say? I knew nothing about Kabbalah when I started this project. This is synchronicity at work. Memes that connect across time and space, providing simultaneous inspiration, communicating meaning through shared experiences, which may not even be our own. As I said in David J. Brown and Psychedelics, I'm continually humbled by the people from around the world who say they see connections between my way of visualizing reality and their own impressions of how things really work. So here to finish is one of my 26 songs attached to this project, another one of the simpler productions with me sitting at my old piano. This song is about the quandary you always end up in when you're trying to explain where it all comes from, whether you call it God, indeterminacy, the 10th dimension, or something else. You have to end up following that cause and effect, the chickens and eggs and chickens, back and back through the links of the chain until finally you arrive at something that has always just been. My song about this idea is called Blind Faith. That's all for today. From the Imagining the 10th Dimension video blog, my name's Rob Bryanton. Enjoy the journey.
Isn't it incredible? This beautiful, crazy world that we're living in seems so impossible, but all in no chance, blind happenstance, in a clumsy comic dance, colliding created this all. To be an evolutionist, you gotta have faith in a force that's so mystical, pulling strings behind the scenes. You believe it directs creatures one and the next, but it's never perplexed when the form that's between couldn't stand a chance. Same boat, different door, same sea, nothing more. If this is a creation, there must be a creator. Blind faith can say the question is resolved. But if there's a creator, how was he created? Blind faith can say that God just evolved. Round and round the whole thing revolves. Where's it all coming from? You can follow the cause and effect through eternity. Evolved or created, you will still reach a spot when you connect all the dots. But the first thing you got at the start is just something that is. Same boat, different